And everybody's happy, right? All right. That's why I need the marker, because this is my year of happiness. At least that's what my tones was the other day when I got a new word. It was happiness. But I didn't really understand it right in the beginning because am I happy? I had to ask myself, am I happy? But this is what appeared. Usually I get like a word like love or peace or joy or something that's very spiritual. But every once in a while I get a symbol that's meant just for me. Or is it? Does anybody recognize it? You don't recognize that symbol? Oh my gosh. It's not that hard. You're nodding your head. What is it? Oh no, you've lived in swim way too long. This is going to be a fun service. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. Gray. You'll never know what's behind me as I brave my way through the day. See, you thought it was going to be familiar, didn't you? Not whatsoever, was it? In fact, that song right before this played beforehand. Do you remember it? Is it familiar to you? No, but you've heard it before. Every single one of you were here. I don't know about you in the back row there, but I think most of you were here. So this was not what I expected it to be today either. I was planning on going to do youth and family ministry training and then speaking. And then change happens. But today, my expectation is still to stand before you and relay a message that Spirit brought through me during what should have been that period as it passed before me. Okay? So sometimes we have to create things that haven't happened yet. But we have references as to places where we can get back to. So that was my desire to share with you today in just a brief presentation. You can't present all of life in 20 minutes. Can you? No. Okay. I'd written a funny, witty introduction, researched a lot of Bible quotes, explored a lot of metaphysical pathways of the words that built around the experience that I was waiting to happen. I had it all ready to go. I had the music. In fact, before you got here in the announcements, it was a popular Adele song. I had the final song, which is on the top 10 charts this week, but it's also behind a lot of advertising, so you're very familiar with it. But how I pictured it and how it was going to happen just didn't happen that way. That's life. That is life. It is demonstrating in the now moment that change happens. And I expected great things out of today. I expected to be back here standing before you, just filled with that vibrant energy of plan, with all that joy. When I come back and being in those that, I don't want to say this, little ones that get me. But that's where I am. Not that I'm on an idol or a platform, but I just being me, they get me. Then change happened. The youth and family ministry retreat's not until the last week of this month. So it's going to be where you're doing the burning bowl ceremony. And speaking of which, I didn't have a chance to let go like I normally did before I got my new stone. So I got something like this, or so I say. I was ready with a title that said 2022 and the new youth, but my focus wasn't in the right place. Guess where the focus needed to be? Excuse me. Right here in me. I was doing all the work. These are the books that I'm reading. In fact, I thought it was really funny that the one that's turned around is the only other book that has the symbol on it, the only other symbol that I've had in the last 10 years from the White Stone Ceremony. And if you look at today's daily work, not even picking today to speak, but getting here by coincidence, the book that I'm reading is Create a World That Works for All. There's no such thing as coincidence. This moment was meant to happen. And why was it meant to happen? I'm going to have to tell you, it's to get over my fear. You see, I work really well one-on-one with people that I can't normally do when I'm up here because I have fear. But the difference is this year, I know each and every one of you in some degree or some dimension. I'm home. I feel comfortable in this space. So Monday I practiced. And the best thing out of it that aNEW told me to keep was my opening prayer. I always do for myself. You guys remember that as we reflect back in retrospect? When I sat down to work on what is the right and perfect message for today, that's what came back to me. Reveal what needs to be revealed. That's what I sit with in the morning. Lead me where you need me, and speak to me in ways I clearly always understand. Sometimes we miss the simple. So I wasn't feeling that I was in the right place at the right time, or getting the right messages. I got what that guy said a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of months ago. It resonated within me. So I lifted up all the attachment for the talk for today, and that I worked on so fervently to have it have order and structure, and I let it go. It had already moved through me once before, and it gave me the guidance I needed in that now moment. And life went on. Now it's kind of interesting because what I was going to talk about was how things are in retrospect. The people that helped me pick out the music that are going to be behind the announcements this week and the end song are 22. That's where I got the notion of the thought of a song that might work for this. Not something I'd ever tuned into before or came into the awareness of. But think about it, my experience is just like this book. Life is a layering process that we go through in order to be present and enjoy the now moment. Everything we pick up, everything we touch, everything we absorb. Mine started in the 60s with black and white television. So of course, the video that popped up was one of mine from the past that was in black and white, that merged over. In 70s, color television. Kids don't even know things nowadays. My daughter has never seen a black and white. I used to lay in bed with a transistor radio that my grandmother gave me with a single plug earplug that I ran out of the hidden cubbyhole that's supposed to hold my homework out of my cube at the end of my bed that ran with an extension cord up to my ear to listen to what I wanted to hear if I didn't sleep. In 1972, it was the Atari. We were playing virtual games in black and white. It was Pong going back and forth. Now it's Oculus, something three-dimensional. Merlin knows. Oculus. Am I echoing? I'm echoing in an Oculus. Oculus is the thing. It's three-dimensional, where we had two-dimensional things. Things are expanding at their own rates. In fact, I want to thank, because 50 years to go in a presidential campaign announcement, Al Gore attributed the internet to him, and I am grateful for the internet. Because we learn about things. That was supposed to be a joke. Okay. We've learned things because we've moved past that T-based cables and modems. Merlin's probably the only one that got that. Wasn't even born yet. And he laughed, I mean. We had to start over. We went from modems and American Online to fast internet, where people were getting information faster than they ever got it before. And then like 40 years ago, Pac-Man, a thing that we were doing in our homes, we could now do out in public arcades. And then music started trending. We had hymns, we had chants, things that needed us to remind us as we're working in fields or trying to serve a God keep us as a reminder as we repeated them over and over again to keep us in the right mindset. We do that now with our words and actions, with Facebook and Snapchat and all these different things out there that are virtually creating the experience we desire in the physical. That's what we're in competition with, even with ourselves. As all the messages get louder and louder, the change is happening at a faster and faster rate. How do we do this? How do we get past this? How do we get through this? In fact, change is the only variable that's been a constant. How do we make it through? So we can only get better, right? We can only get better. So as I sat with Spirit the other day, I threw all that away because a new thought came through. And I know I'm probably losing you in my thought process, but in my new vision, the focus was moved to that of you and TH. You know math, right? What happens when you put TH on a word? That's a position statement. Am I not right? 5th, 6th, 7th, 11th, positioning statements. But when we say it about us, youth has appeared in life about the attainment of full growth. That's what we're all doing. When you add TH to anything, true becomes truth. And it gives you a path to go on that puts youth in perspective. If you put that thought somewhere else, something new occurs out of it. What's your new youth? I ask you at this point. If you were in position to see where you are at this moment, where do you see yourself? Do you see a new youth? Do you see something based on the past like they did in that first video? Something that you've based your life upon? Or do you see something based upon that you've layered your experiences to get to the new you? We do that. We're human, right? Or I think we are. You know, we just put on things on the outside. The new youth is probably underneath here somewhere. That's why I wear kids' camp clothes when I come in. It's whatever we layered upon. In fact, I had a really wonderful teacher at Unity. His name was Hasselbeck. And you know, we try to get things into a perspective so that we can accept them in the physical world. Those images or those symbols that have been placed through us, they're all out of time. That you are the light, you are the happiness. What is that song? I know you know it back there in that back row. You are the one, you are the love, you are the light, you are the truth. It brings it all to life. You are the one seeking attainment to the fullest potential. You're the one naming that period of life. So you are that youth. In the English language, especially when it comes to number, adding the TH, perfectly natural for positioning, but yet we don't try to do that ourselves. Give ourselves a place of where we feel an accomplishment to encourage ourselves forward so that we can do those things. Now we're having to put full instructions in the simplest thing of such as a pack of gum so that we make sure that we're all in alignment with what is ours to do. That's not what makes it true. It's how you respond to it. So youth is going to do what it's always done. It's going to base its responses on what it's seeing, what actions it knows, and the only one that's going to bring it to reality is the one that's experiencing it. They've already figured that out. They've already expressed that. They know this, if you break it down, has more meaning than just one. That's a reference point. If you look at that, how it came to me, these are all bird speeds. There's centering and looking out is that point of observer, which we're talking about in one of the books. And letting everything naturally else take flight. That's what the Navajo Thai representation symbol says when you look it up. And that's how you get to happiness. From a place of observer, and bringing it to life or to light. So from this reference point in this learning process, I have nothing to tell you about the new you, except that it's you. And you already knew that because you're pretty much discerning all this infinite possibility way before me, because it's the story of life in a nutshell is the story of you that we've all been in review with, right? If we're going to revitalize, we have to renew and review and bring us back to where we started to begin with. So in closing, life is a layering process of the foundations we build upon from our point of reference. Hasselbeck called his class heart-centered metaphysics as a layering process like the onion in prosperity, but in posterity too. Life has to go on because life is. God is. Life is. Where did it all come from? Probably research and development. He went inside and came up with all the things he wrote in his book, and he collected other references and resources to bring to life in you what helps you renew. So if you want to be that you in position and bring forth that youth, you have to position yourself. And I don't know, simply more, everything in life is based on that, and we proceed forward. That's my lesson on life this week. Pretty simple. You know, change happens. We adapt. And as Lily Tomlin would used to say, as Edith Ann, and that's the truth. Whatever you focus on, you're going to get. By choices within the experiences of life, we change until we sanely receive the good that is everywhere present. That was one of my earlier thoughts about this. But simply stated in John, it says, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So let's take these thoughts into a brief moment of meditation as I talk about Genesis for just a second, because that's what we do as we go into new creation. Just leave it blank up there for a minute, guys. In the chapter of Genesis, about 6 days before creation began, they started doing all sorts of different things. And so if you would, close your eyes and follow along with me. And we're going to recreate anew, just like they did in Genesis. We call everything to light through our awareness. So let's first become aware of our breath. And as we breathe in, know that everything that has filled the air that you have taken in has assisted and aided everything in life that has preceded it. And it's helped it heal, grow, and renew for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. 6 days of creation happened before physical man. Creation of man in the mind of the divine, reaching a climax in the creation of man in the physical form. This ideal man, according to metaphysical translations by Charles Fillmore, in the mysteries of Genesis, is the image and likeness of God. Endowed with divine abilities and possessed of dominion of over every idea that Elohim, God, had projected. The second chapter is the story of Jehovah, God's forming in manifestation. So let us take our breath all the way back to there. That which Elohim, God, had already created in mind was now coming into form. This Jehovah God is Christ, spiritual man, or God's perfect idea of man, as he forms the manifest man who is the I will. Remember, you've got to be willing. The I am forms and breathes the breath of life into all the I will in creation. In the realm of the ideal where we are, the I am, expressing those ideas in thoughts and in our actions, because it engages with I will. Now, 6 days out, all was finished in that consciousness of mind and man, and the rest relied on faith. And change happened. Yet it is constant. This is reinforced in that simplicity of John 1 and verses 1 through 3. In the beginning was the Word, And the Word was God, and the Word was of God. And everything else that moved forward in that stream of consciousness was the same in the beginning as it was in God. And all these things were made in him, and without him was nothing made, and nothing was made. So this is where it begins, that layering process. We added to it. At this point, Adam, or that physical, was added as the extension of the divine. And so we take that down to the deepest part of our mind and know that as I am and as I will, I can move forward. So we take motions and actions of all that we observe, and we discern them with those of our human characteristics and discover what we can learn. For in the depths of the interconnection, we are all one. And we're all in this together. Moving forward, lifting each other with our thoughts, words, and actions every day, holding people in consciousness deeper as they pray, and we pray in connection with them. From our point of awareness, everything on the outside, as we claim it, is all in divine order. And is in a right and perfect position to move forward, a greater grandeur of life. As soon as we bring it into our awareness, accept it as our greatness, and move it forward. So what will you call forward in this genesis of life? What will you reevaluate or position yourself through with the youth that is in you? What will be your revelation this year as your divine life continues? As you open up to the awesomeness and the grandeur of all that is. All that you're actually able and capable to do, but just were hesitant with your resolution. What are you going to feed and allow to grow? And what are you saying no longer serves you, that you're allowing yourself to let go? To make this year the year of you, 2022, and the new you, what will you allow as life to happen? That brings forth the happiness that is you. So with one more breath, capture that in, allow it up to bubble back in within you, and bring it in forward to the now moment. And as you're ready and willing, return with me into this time and space in the now moment, and embrace that thought that that is going to be the new you. Just like you did with that stone from 2 weeks ago, you can do it in every time of choice. You are the new youth whenever you choose to look at it from that perspective of the beholder. Your position and your disposition is what makes it really you in authenticity. So ask yourself, what's anew and what's new in you? For you are the one you've been waiting for. And so, thank you for allowing me to be of service today. May your day be filled with lots of light.